Coming in today for our fight preview, we have Brandon Malo Lambert. Brandon is going to be fighting on BKFC Knucklemania. That's coming up here on February 5th down there in Tampa, Florida. Brandon, thanks for joining me today. How's it going? How you feeling?
It's excellent, man. I appreciate the time today also.
No, absolutely. Thanks for joining us. I want to jump right in and ask you a question that I like to ask anybody who decided to fight bare knuckle really at any time. How did you get into combat sports, and what kind of led you towards bare knuckle as opposed to boxing, MMA? There's other people would call them traditional combat sports at this point.
Well, I've always been into martial arts or fighting in particular. In middle school, I used to get beat up a lot. I was really into like WWE wrestling, so I would have like the Stone Cold 316 shirts, and got made fun of, and I got beat up by real wrestlers. High school wrestlers, middle school, whatever, wrestling. And I was always that dude that would show up at the park and get my ass whipped, and I got tired of getting my ass whipped, so I started training a little bit, and then I moved out to Thailand and got into Muay Thai, real Muay Thai, not kickboxing, and I fell in love with it. Like, it sounds weird, but I love violence. What I mean by violence is I mean like hand-to-hand combat violence. I don't like just random violence, but I love the brutality of fighting.
And that's a sentiment that I think is shared across a lot of people who are fighting bare knuckle, is that like literal hand to hand where there's no barrier, there's no glove. It's almost like a throwback to the school, like the schoolyard days where you're just out there, fighting that person across from you. Is that kind of what it feels like to you? Is you're, in the truest form of hand to hand combat at that point?
Yeah, like you run the biggest risk of injury with no pads. Like, that's why, like, I'm not an athletic person. I've said that in a lot of interviews. I didn't play high school sports or anything like that because I sucked. But I just love I love the impact. I love the feeling of your hands swelling up, your elbows swelling up. You can't walk because your legs are hurt so bad from leg kicks. Being able to persevere through that. That's what is entertaining and addicting to me. It's not, I want to become famous and, the lights and the cameras and the money, but it's inside of that moment where you feel most alive. When you're in pain and you don't know if you're going to be able to walk through that, and then being able to walk through that, to me, that's when you truly live. And I've had a really, really, really rough 16 months, and I just want to live again.
Got you. That feeling of in the moment, right? And truly living in that, some people call it an adrenaline dump where, you're all hyped up and then you get, in there. And some people go into, fight or flight mode. Some people say that they have tunnel vision, that they can't hear anything. What's it actually like for you when you're in the moment in that fight? Can you hear your coaches? Can you hear the people in the stands? Are you one of those guys that has tunnel vision that you can't hear a whole lot? What's it like in there?
I can hear everything, but I'm focused on one thing, and that's violence. I'm not the most skilled fighter in the world, and I've never claimed to be, and I never will claim to be. But I do believe I'm one of the most violent people in the world. I like to walk forward. I like to strike. And, when I touch you, I just like to touch you more and more. It's like a Pringles. Once I pop you, I can't stop.
And that love for violence that you have do you think that has also, I don't want to say formed the way that you fight, but has given you kind of the confidence to move forward, the confidence to keep coming after someone even when you might be getting touched up or might be feeling tired or persevering? That love for wanting to get to that point in the fight where everyone's uncomfortable and you're really pushing the pace and really putting it on the guy and getting in his face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like the penchant for violence, I think that's the word for it, the passion for violence. Like it's like walking up to it's like, I like to say it's like kind of like trick or treating when you have this big walkway that you can walk up to and every couple of feet there's a bucket with candy. You just want going and going, you know. So every step I take, every punch I throw, every punch I take, it's like I'm grabbing from that candy jar, and I just want my bag full as fuck when I get to the front door. So I just keep walking until I get to it. And, you know, sometimes you get your bag snatched and get knocked out, and sometimes you get the mother load and you get the win. So that's what I love about it is I don't go in there to win. I go in there to inflict damage. And I think that's why I'm a good fit for BKFC. And that's why I wanted to come into bare knuckle, because with boxing, you can touch a dude up 12 rounds and he can go home and then he can feel it later. I want you to feel it now. When I touch you, I want you to know I'm there to hurt you. And I'm very, very big on fighter health and fighter safety. So that's another reason why I avoided real boxing, like traditional boxing and other martial arts is I think the long-term damage is more severe with boxing, the MMA, than it is with bare knuckle. Even the studies have been showing that you're not taking repetitive blows to your head, you know, over and over and over again. Plus it's 2-minute rounds, 5 rounds. It's not 3-minute rounds of 12. And you're not running the risk of, you know, having your joints pushed and popped out of place. You know, you're breaking bones and stuff, but I just think it's a violent sport, but it's less lethal.
Mm-hmm.
If that
and
makes sense.
Absolutely. And that's a good way to put it. And you've kind of echoed a few of the things that a couple of the other BKFC fighters have said, which is, you know, boxing, you may get hit over a 12-round fight, you know, 300, 400 times in the head. And with the gloves on, you know, you might not come out of that looking physically, right, with cuts and bruises like you even got in a fight, but your brain is getting rattled around every single time. Where in BKFC, there's a lot more stoppages from those cuts, those things that happen because it's knuckle on skin, and you're more likely to get cut up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also ask you, you said about the walk, you know, with the trick-or-treating, and I wanted to ask you about being backstage, right? Because one of my favorite things every time I fought was literally just the walk to the cage. It was like all of this work, all of this time that I put in, and it was like a relaxing, calming feeling of just being able to walk out, you know, the song that I hear, you know, 10,000 times that I played over and over again before I walk out. What do you like, you know, backstage before you walk out? And then what does that walk signify and mean to you?
So backstage, I want to be left the fuck alone. I got to get into my zone. Because fighting is a mental sport. Yeah, it's a physical sport, but if you're not in it mentally, you're going to get hurt. So I like to get into the zone. Like I'm one of those guys, like a lot of people, like, I don't have to hate my opponent. I have to hate your fucking guts. Mm-hmm. So when I'm in the back, even if you're a decent dude, I'm thinking about all the bad things that you could have done, and I'm making that a reality, and you're my enemy at that point. So that's what I like to do. I don't like to have people, you know, coming in and telling me, you know, you game plan throughout the camp, whatever. But, you know, when I'm backstage, I'm warming up. I want to be left alone. I have my music on. So, you know, I'm doing my routines. I'm warming up. I have my music. And then that walk. So it depends on where your fights are broadcast nowadays. Sometimes you can't have the walkout song that you prefer because it's a licensed music. So what I always do, because I ran into that a lot too, I like to put my song on my headphones and walk out with my headphones. So you might see me doing this, and the song, it's not even in rhythm. It's because I'm listening to something different. And then when I get into the cage or the ring or whatever it is, it's go time. So I'm focused on my opponent at that time. I don't go back to the corner and talk to my coaches, and you know, I don't talk to nobody. It's wartime. Once they walk, it's fucking wartime. So I'm getting prepared probably an hour backstage, getting mentally ready. And then that walk, you know, you feel all that. I have an adrenaline dump during the walk because you get this sensation, like a nervousness, and you feel this energy. And then I just feel like my chest explodes as they're putting the Vaseline on, you know, and checking you. And then once you walk up those steps, I mean, it's game time. So that's what I'm looking forward to more than anything, is walking out, being able to see the crowd, feeling that energy, and, you know, announcing, hey, I'm here, motherfuckers.
And that's, it's one of the greatest feelings in the world. And you've experienced it plenty of times to be able to, I think describe it in detail like that. And it's just cool to get inside your brain and your mentality, because so many people take fighting so differently and they have different spins on it or what it means to them. Um, Curious, you said at the time you have to, hate your opponent. You have to go out there and you want to, dislike that person. Once the fight ends, do you still have animosity towards that person? Do you talk to them afterwards? What's that like?
If it's not a real like if we haven't had beef before, then I'm gonna respect you and shake your
Okay.
hand. But if I don't like you, I'm gonna beat your ass. You're gonna beat my ass, and then we're still not gonna like each other.
Got you.
I'm not into that. Let's talk a bunch of shit to each other, and then I'm gonna hug you after the fight. Nah. If I can talk shit to you, then it's because I don't like you. Like I like to hype up fights.
Sure.
Name of the game. A lot of times, it's stage, whatever, but you will never, ever see me shake or hug somebody that I say, I fucking hate this guy. If I say I hate him, I'm not going to love you after I whip your ass or you whip my ass. It's probably just going to intensify it. You got to respect the person that you get in there with. I don't believe in that. I mean, I do believe you got to respect fighters as fighters and stuff, but nah, if it's beef before, it's beef afterwards too. Like it just stays that way. I've been too forgiving to people, and it's stabbed me in the back. So I don't do that shit no more. I rock and roll it to the fullest.
Yeah, and there's also a difference between respecting the man across from you because he went through the camp, cut the weight, and got in there with you, and then respecting him as a human, like as the person that he is. And I think that's where people kind of don't understand the difference, right? Where you can have respect for him as an athlete, but not necessarily like him or respect him as a person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason that you have to respect them as the athlete is because without them doing their work, they wouldn't be in, or you wouldn't be in the position you're in. So, like I have, like, I don't want people to see this and think that I'm just don't give a fuck about anybody. Like I respect all athletes, whether it's fighting or not. If you're out performing in front of people and showing your vulnerabilities, then I have respect for you. But if you're a shitty person, I'm not going to show you love. I'm not.
Yep, absolutely, and that makes sense. The other thing about that, your mentality of not liking the person across from you when you get into the fight, has that ever been something that you had to, like actively work on, where you might have come out too aggressive, or you might have come out where you kind of were just fighting with reckless abandon and had to almost not tone it down, but harness that into more controlled aggression and violence?
Nah, because I don't fight emotionally.
Okay. And that's a good distinction, right? Because people would think you do fight emotionally because of that.
Yeah, like when I don't like somebody, I want them to feel pain. And the only way that I can inflict pain is by doing it methodically and doing it my way, So when you're fighting through emotion, it's no good because you're leaving yourself open. You're not putting forth your best effort when you're in an emotional level, and emotions shouldn't be involved in fighting. Some people disagree, but fighting is a form of movement. You've got to be in that moment of movement and not in that moment emotionally.
Yeah, it's a good distinction, and that's good for people to understand, right? Because they might see somebody who approaches it like you do, and they think, oh, they're fighting too emotionally, right? So they're going to win too wild or too over the top, and it's something that people in combat sports always learn to harness and to use as a weapon and as a tool. And coming into this fight, on the 5th, this Knucklemania fight, I want to know how you're preparing for this fight specifically, and then what you see happening in the fight once you get into the squared circle.
Well, I mean, so I come from a Muay Thai background. I don't have pure boxing. I'm not a pure boxer. I don't have boxing experience. I've never boxed professionally or anything. So the biggest adaptation was my weight distribution. Fighting stance has changed. The way that I throw punches have changed because I don't have to worry about kicks, and I can't kick. So that was a big thing because I used to like to kick a lot, and I can't do that. So, that's different. So, I've just been really focusing on, being able to distribute my weight right, making sure my punches are how they need to be, because throwing punches in boxing is a lot different than throwing punches in kickboxing or Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that's the biggest change that I've done, but I don't really change anything else. Like, I always push the pace. I'm always in your face, and I'm always striking. So I've just been learning how to distribute my weight differently, and keeping my front leg heavy instead of up, because I'm used to, so that's the biggest adaptation that I've done. And that's the biggest focal point, because I think I'm strong everywhere else. It's just stance.
Awesome.
Position.
We're looking forward to the fight too. It's a great card. There's a lot of good fights on it. Before I let you go, just wanted to give you a chance to give any shout outs, any kind of mentions or anything to anyone who's been helping you out along the way for this camp and just so far in your career.
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank King Mo for giving time to me. Sorry about that. I want to thank King Mo for giving his time to me. I want to thank American Top Team for lending me the coaches for this camp. I want to thank David Feldman and Nate Shook for taking a chance on me and allowing me to be on this card. And I'm dedicating this fight and all my other fights to broken fathers, or broken daddies is what I like to call them, because a lot of deadbeat fathers are just broken daddies. When you alienate a parent, that's a form of child abuse. My ex-wife has alienated me from my 3 children. And so I'm dedicating this fight to all those fathers that are in the same position that I am, that they cannot see their kids. They want to, and the court system is broken, and we need to fix it. So I want to give a shout out to my kids, Leonidas Cruz, Indiana Scarlett, and Aspen Gracie. I love you very much. Fathers need to band together and try to reform this law, because it's just a money grab. So big shout out to everybody that's dealing with child custody issues, spiteful mothers, things like that. And I want to thank everybody that's supported me throughout this journey. I've been on this journey for a minute, and a lot of people have joined on since I got signed that weren't on before. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the doubters as well. Me and Jared are the most talked about fight on this card. Fuck what nobody says. A lot of people are talking about Paige. A lot of people are talking about Quentin Henry, which, they should be. But a lot of people are talking about this fight. And we're going to show why. Like, I am convinced that you're going to see the best Jared Grant that you've ever seen inside of there. And I can guarantee that you're going to see pure violence. I just really want to dedicate this to all of the broken daddies out there. I'm doing this for you guys. When your life gets taken from you, you don't just have to lay down and die. You can create a new one, and you can let your children know that you still love them and that you're still around for them. And keep fighting. Just keep fighting.
Awesome, Brandon. Very well said. I appreciate your time today. We're looking forward to that violence when you step into the squared circle here in a couple of weeks. Good luck, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, and make sure everybody goes to MMAtees.co or MMAteesco.com. Wow, what is their website again?
MMAteesco.com.
See, I told you. And order shirts. We've got Lorenzo Hunt. We've got Britton Hart. Mm-hmm. We've got your boy Malo. Got a few other fighters from the BKFC card. So show support. Buy those shirts. It helps us out. It helps a great company out. And they're high-quality shirts. I ordered 3 of my own shirts myself. So you got to go out, visit the company, visit the website, check out all the different athletes they have. They're not just with bare knuckle. They have MMA athletes, boxing athletes, everything. So high-quality merchandise. Make sure you check it out, MMAteesco.com.
Awesome, Brandon. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, boss.
All right. See you soon.
Thank you, brother.